We welcome all of you to this auspicious occasion. We have gathered here to share our thoughts and to hear from the experts about the Union Budget 2005. The budget is known as the DNA of the Indian economy, and being responsible and sensible citizens of the nation, it is our prerogative and prime responsibility to know, analyze and understand the Union Budget. India's budget, India's public finance system, follows a British pattern. Many of the budgets have envisaged and changed the entire economic matrix of the nation, and among them, the 1991 budget gains prime importance.
In a country of 1 billion people, where at least half the population is directly pinning their hopes and aspirations along with their worries towards the budget, we strongly feel that analyzing and understanding the budget is indeed a worthwhile exercise. Today, the DC School of Management and Technology, along with the BC Books, are privileged to organize a prolific discussion with eminent personalities, an analysis of the Union Budget 2005.
Now, we invite the man behind the whole show, the chief facilitator of DC Books and the DC School of Management and Technology, Mr. Ravi DC, to the dais. Sir, please.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, senior management professionals, entrepreneurs, academicians, and dear friends. We, DC School of Management and Technology, is a young and dynamic B school in Kerala, focusing on industry-oriented management training, consultancy, and management development programs. We are among the rare breed of business schools who interact with the industry through regular programs and associations. Our intellectual capital is at par with the best business schools in the country, and our infrastructure is probably best in the region, deliberately done for a 2-year residential rigorous management program. We have undertaken few consultancy projects for the industry since our inception 2 years back. We had many management development programs in Kochi in the last 2 years as well. We are also bringing out a journal for the last 1 year, which is called the DC School Journal on Organization and Management. In fact, DC School Press, the publishing division of DCSMAT, has done its first book in 2004. It's called the Intellectual Property Rights Beyond 2005. It's co-authored by Amir Khan and Vivek Debroy. Now let me welcome the dignitaries. Sri Subhashish Gangavadhyar has come all the way from New Delhi for this program. Subhashish is a PhD holder from the great Ivy League school, Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. He has co-authored many volumes in economics and finance. He is the founder director of India Development Foundation. He's the founder director of India Development Foundation. On behalf of all of us present and on behalf of DC Books and DC School of Management and Technology, let me welcome Mr. Subhash Gangavadhyar. A warm welcome to the Mr. Amirullah Khan has been associating with us for a long time. He had edited one special issue of our journal, the DC School Journal, on IPR. It has been widely acclaimed, that special issue has been widely acclaimed otherwise, by the industry and as well as the practitioners. He has co-authored, as I said, the first book which DC School Press has produced. He is a postgraduate from the Institute of Rural Management, Anand. He joined civil service in 1993. He headed the academic unit at the Indian School of Finance and Management in Delhi as well as I believe in London also, right? Amir, a warm welcome to you, Amir, and many thanks for making this happen. Sri Venugopal Sri Govind is a well-wisher of DC Books and DC Group. He is heading one of the leading chartered accountant firms in India, Let me welcome you, sir. Thank you for coming. Dr. M.V. Paili or Paili sir is the chairman of our Board of Governors. He is a great inspiration to all of us. Welcome you, sir. Last but not least, let me welcome all of you for coming for this program. And I'm sure with Subhashish and Amir, you will have a great time. Thank you. Welcome again.
Thank you, sir. DC School of Management and Technology. What is so special about this institute? What makes this institute different from other management institutes in and around Kerala? May we invite our friend, Mr. Tinju K. George, pursuing his MBA in DC School of Management and Technology, to show all of us the uniqueness of this institute. Tinju, please. I request our guest to please step down to watch the presentation of our institute.
Good evening to all. My duty is to familiarize you all with our prestigious institute, DC School of Management and Technology. Our inspiration is Padma Bhushan Sri D.C. Kalkem. He was an ardent freedom fighter, a dedicated social activist, an inspiring teacher, a veteran journalist, and one of the founding fathers of the literary Varghese for Sahitya Pravartaka Cooperative Society. Our promoters are DC Books and DC Kalkemari Foundation. I am sure that you all are familiarized with DC Books. DC Books is a name woven into the work and wealth of Indian publishing industry. And DC Kalkemari Foundation aims to emulate what DC Kalkemari did, enrich the world of letters and foster socio-economic growth. DC School of Management and Technology is ideally located at the picturesque serene Thullikanam of the Vagaman Hill Station. And it provides an unmatched atmosphere for learning. Far from the muddy crowd, DCSMAT is easily accessible from Cochin metropolis and other business districts. The weather is pleasantly cool throughout the year. The sprawling 25-acre campus is set in a wonderful little hamlet resembling the Scottish countryside, dotted with tea and spice plantation. The campus provides a breathtaking view of green hills and waterfalls. The academics here made a special mention. It is active student-centered learning method in DCSMAT through case studies. Students spend the whole day discussing Harvard type of cases inside and outside the classroom every day for 2 years. Both Indian and global case studies are used in this session. We have sessions starting from 8 o'clock in the morning and spread to 11:30 in the night. Each session is of 2.5 hours. The sessions are designed in such a way as to complete all the classworks inside the classroom so that the student can use the remaining time for extracurricular activities. At DCSMAT, studies are of managerial competence oriented and not merely examination oriented. We have only open book exams that never test the memory power but test the thinking and imagination capacity of the student. DCSMAT is providing industry interface through internship, live projects in management, mock interviews by executives, etc. We have opportunities to collaborate with foreign students online. The students of DCSMAT went to Coca-Cola factory at Plachimadam and did a live analysis of the issue along with the students from the Grand Valley State University, USA. Visiting professors from abroad add more values on students, and the online database of foreign journals keep you up to date. 100% transparency in all things is maintained in DCSMAT. As you know that management education is the costliest education in the world. And in DCSMAT, each students are charged the same fees and we have only merit seats. That means we are not looking for the money, we are looking for the competency of the student. And the students are communicated over an e-group. The buzzword here is value creation. Now, what are the facilities we provide for generate value in each student? Let us have a look at the facilities available in the DCSMAT. We have well-furnished classrooms. A communication lab is set up for sharpening the communication skills of the student. We have a very good computer lab with campus LAN and VZ connectivity. The knowledge is coming to the tip of the finger of every student through its Wi-Fi environment. The student can access to internet and the local network through their laptops at any time. The library of DCSMAT is one of the best libraries in our country. Spread over 3 stories, the library has a book collection of almost 10,000 volumes and has been subscribing to 150 journals. Most foreign journals are subscribed online. We have subscription of online databases like EBSCO, Insight, and Encyclopedia Britannica online. Another feature of our library is the book bank system. Through this book bank system, each student will get textbook of each subject. Ours is a residential campus and students are provided with a well-protected and hazing-free hostels. DCSMAT is a theatre of inspiration. The campus life focuses on overall development of one's personality, the body, mind and soul. Sports, festivals, celebrations of campus clubs is all a part of the atmosphere at DCSMAT. There are several clubs functioning in the campus. We have art club for the budding talents and a community development club joins hand with the local people for the welfare of the Pulikanam village. We have sports club, tourism club, science and IT club, and yoga club for help the students. And other recreational facilities like gymnasium, swimming pool, mini market, self-laundry service, etc. are available in our campus. And we have reached the end part of our small presentation, and you can reach us at info@dcschool.net. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Libu and Elspeth. It's indeed my privilege to introduce the distinguished guests of the day. Professor Subhashish Gangopadhyay, a PhD in economics from Cornell University, New York, started his career with the Delhi Center of the Indian Statistical Institute in 1983. He is the founder director of Indian Development Foundation from July 2002. He has published widely in journals on development economics, international trade, industrial organization, regulatory economics and finance. He has also co-authored and co-edited a number of books in economics and finance. He is the chief director of the Journal of Emerging Market Finance and is the president of the Society for the Promotion of Game Theory and its Application. He has been awarded with National Science Talent Search Fellowship, NCRT India, in 1974, Cornell First Year Fellowship, Cornell University, USA, in 1978, and McWhite Trust Fellowship, Cornell University, USA in 1979. He has been on many government committees and consulted with various ministries and private business. He is currently the member, Bankruptcy Task Force, IPT, Columbia University, member, International Advisory Committee, LEFIC, Copenhagen Business School, member, Research Advisory Board, Center for Finance, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and member, South Asia Chief Economics Advisory Council, World Bank. So, on behalf of all of us here, we welcome you. Amir Ullah Khan is a postgraduate from the Institute of Rural Management at Anand. His PhD thesis focused on intellectual property issues in international trade. In 1993, he joined the Indian Civil Service, after which he worked for 4 years with Project Large of the UNDP and Government of India. He headed the academic unit of Indian School of Finance and Management, where he taught economics and management at the chapters of the school in New Delhi, Chennai, and London. Subsequently, he worked as Executive Director and Editor, Encyclopedia Britannica India, and is now a Fellow at India Development Foundation. He has written on legal and economic issues and has recently authored a book with Vivek Debroy titled Intellectual Property Rights Beyond 2005, published by DC Books. On behalf of the DC Group and DC School of Management and Technology, we welcome you, sir. Venugopal C. Govind. He is a senior chartered accountant and managing partner of Messrs. Verma and Verma, an established firm of chartered accountants with central office in Kochi and offices in other principal southern states. He is a senior consultant and financial advisor to many leading public and private sector companies in South India. He has been a senior faculty in management of various management institutes and universities in South India. He is a member of advisory boards and academic councils of various educational institutions and business schools in Kerala. He has served in the Expert Advisory Committee, Fiscal Laws Committee, WTO, and International Trade Committees of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, New Delhi, and is an academic resource trainer for the peer review program of the Institute. He was president of the Cochin Chamber of Commerce and Industry, chairman of All India Manufacturers Organization Kerala, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Kerala, and Southwestern Indian Shippers Association. He has served in the national executives of various trade chambers and councils. He has served as director on the board of directors of many public and private sector companies. He has been a faculty and chairman in various professional conferences and seminars in management, finance, commerce, and taxation subjects. He was awarded the Management Leadership Award by the Kerala Management Association for his contribution to business, industry, and management. He was District Governor of Rotary International in South India and has served in various international committees of Rotary International. He was chairman of the Rotary Asia Regional Institute 1996, held in Cochin. So, on behalf of the DC School of Management and Technology, we welcome you. Professor Emeritus Dr. O.N.V. He is known as Father of Management Studies in Kerala. He is a widely read scholar who has visited almost all the continents for academic purposes. He has authored a large number of books on a variety of subjects. His speeches have been quite inspiring and motivating. We, the students of DCSMAT, had the privilege of listening to his speeches a number of times during his visit to the campus. So, on behalf of all of us here, we welcome you. We also welcome the Chief Facilitator of DC Books and DC School of Management and Technology, Mr. Ravi DC. Thank you. Thank you, Priya. Now we are moving on to the core, the purpose of this program, the analysis of the Union Budget 2004. We hand over the session to the moderator, Mr. Venugopal C. Govind. It is your turn, sir.
Esteemed management guru for all of us, Dr. Fabi, distinguished economist Dr. Gangopathyaya, Dr. Mirullah Khan, my longtime friend Ravi, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. So we are indeed very fortunate that we have two of the topmost developmental economists of the country just today to analyze the union budget. In the last few days, we have been hearing various interpretations or dissertations on the budget from all kinds of people. Very rarely that we get economists of the cadre of Dr. Gangopathyaya and Dr. Amirullah Khan to take us through the nuances of a very complex document like the union budget. My responsibility today as the moderator is very simple. I'm sure both the economists are going to touch upon the core issues of the budget which are of great relevance to us. I may only say or put up to them that budget being a very crucial document. It contains the policy measures of the government which are being followed over a period of time and which lie ahead for the country. It also is a document which reviews or evaluates the financial progress the nation has made in the last few years and sets targets for economic performances. It lays down the thrust areas or priorities which the nation has to deal with at any given point of time. And in that perspective, the long-term fiscal measure or the short-term financial programs and policies that are required to be taken up. It also deals extensively with the budgetary philosophy given in the light of the various 5-year plans and long-term fiscal plans made by the government. It lays down the budgetary allocations as a continuing policy document of the previous year and as a core document for the current year. What we like to know from these two eminent economists are how far reliable is this essential budgetary document. Can we accept that the fiscal deficit projected at 4.3 is genuine? Can we accept that the revenue deficit projected at 95,312 crores at 2.7% of the GDP acceptable? What exactly do we mean by GDP? Is there a concept of GDP in a country like ours where over 40 to 50% of the economy runs parallel to the official economy, where we do not have any statistics genuinely to evaluate the gross domestic product? So when that itself is so fluid, how do we get to know realistically the so-called deficits and all that? Do these numbers mean anything to us? We'd also like to know, are we moving in the direction towards achieving the target of the fiscal and responsibility management bill that by 2007 or now 2008 or 2009, the revenue deficit of the nation could be brought down? Are we on a proper wicket when we are trying to reduce the customs tariff, excise tariff to be in line with the ASEAN levels? And are our direct tax rates, corporate taxes now brought to 30%, income tax rates, peak rate brought down to 30%, fairly acceptable for a performance-oriented economy, which is slated to be the third largest economic global superpower in 2 to 3 years from now? Are we happy that the capital expenditure for the nation budgeted at 1,47,000 crores, a trifle 2,000 crores in excess of what was last year, is what we should take at the time we are on a development program as massive as you are wanting to take up now. In the last 1 year, when they say they have spent 1,43,000 crores on capital expenditure for the nation from the central budget, how much in fact would have really gone into developing the base structure of the economy? Do we need to pay more attention in this very vital area? How are we going to fund the infrastructure needs of the nation, which in the next 5 years stand at something like 500,000 crores for roads, 600,000 crores for telecom and high-tech areas, 900,000 crores for various other infrastructure facilities including ports and seaports? Could we substantially drop on the foreign exchange reserves, which today stands at $135 billion, and fortunately which is growing at a highly fast rate of almost $2.5 to $3 billion in 7 to 10 days, with the targeted foreign exchange reserves possible of being attained perhaps by the end of 31st March 2006 at almost $200 billion, over 90% of which are invested in low-yielding treasury securities or bonds, stocks, etc., collectively in the US market at a low rate of 1.5 to 2%. Is the government right in saying that they will draw only $5 billion annually out of foreign exchange reserves for development of infrastructure? Would it not be more prudential for a nation at this point of time to go at a high gear investment of anything like 25 or 30 billion dollars out of foreign exchange reserves, as China has done and has been doing? How far is the account of 59 or 60 billion dollars of Chinese investment, foreign investment which you hold as a benchmark, correct? And how far wrong is our own calculation or computation of our direct foreign investment at less than 4 or 5 billion dollars? Is it correct to say that India is not a poor country in the budget? Is it correct to say that absence of skills and employments which have been inflicted by us on account of erratic economic policies as indices of poverty of this country? Would it be possible to achieve what is sought to be by the pledge of inclusive economic income at this point of time? Would it be possible for us to achieve Bharat Nirman, total reconstruction of rural India through development projects of water supplies and roads and electrifications and telecom, and by setting up knowledge centers in every village by 2007? Is it correct at this point of time to divert the attention of our commercial banks and rural regional banks for credit to households? Should it be the policy to consolidate banks and go through mergers of banks at a time when banks themselves are in total disarray, when their banking operations are resulting in a loss and they are existing only through money market operations in securities? How far will it be successful with the microfinance groups which are sought to be introduced? Is it in order to go ahead with a gold traded exchange bonds at this time, when over 70,000 crores of black money investment is lying in hidden gold stocks? Is this the correct policy to take out the gold reserve which is lying unheeded too? Are we ready to go ahead with the introduction of VAT from 1405? Would it be not prudential to wait for summertime? Are we happy with the recommendations of the 12th Finance Commission that the centre has to transfer over 26,000 crores of rupees to state? There is no mention about disinvestment at all. We have been talking about for 2 years, but the budget doesn't utter a single word about disinvestment. On the contrary, budget speaks about investing further in public sector undertakings of close to 12 or 14,000 crores. This and many, many more such issues are extremely confusing, and we ordinary people cannot find answers to that. And perhaps it is for that we have two eminent economists, and I would like to hand over the podium to them. May I first invite Dr. Gangopadhyaya, who will speak for 30 to 35 minutes, followed by Amirullah Khan. Okay, as they decide, first Dr. Amirullah Khan. Over to you, Mr. Khan. The podium is yours.
He will answer all your questions. Okay. As you like.
Good evening to all of you. I must say this, that it is indeed such a pleasure to be in God's own country, as we all know Kerala by. When Ravi brought this idea, I was wondering whether it was a good thing at all to have somebody coming in and talking about a very boring document like the budget. But obviously Ravi is a good salesman. He sold the workshop well. It's already overflowing. So congrats, Ravi. I must start by first commenting on that wonderful presentation on the school. I knew that it was a very impressive new school, but I didn't realize that it was so very well thought out and doing so very well. I only have a few questions which maybe I'll ask the students. The presentation said they study between 8:30 and 11:30 at night, and then it showed some people in the swimming pool. I don't know. It wasn't night. I don't know when it happened. Venugopal took the exam bait from that presentation very seriously and gave us a huge question paper. The DC school has open book exams. We don't have access to books. He asked a number of questions, and because I have been forced by Bhashir to speak first, what I will do to him in return is leave him to answer those questions. It is indeed very interesting to come back to Kerala after a long time. I spent, as I said, I was telling Ravi, I spent my first year of working in Kerala, in Ayyappapanicker with Milma, the Milk Federation, and I have very fond memories. Not much has changed. Kerala, which was already a very literate state, has become even more literate. Urbanization, which had just about started, has become a little more uglier. The new thing is Ayurvedic started. Mammootty is still very popular. So it's very nice to be back in Kerala. So what if I have to talk about something like the budget? My broad point, and this I must admit, that it's a very interesting thing that you will find people like us do when the budget comes out. We are sitting there at 12:30 noon on budget day, commenting on a budget speech that has still not been completed. So we are talking about a budget. I must confess I did that without having heard the budget speech. So you start from a position where you know very little, pontificate on what you think about this budget that you never heard, then catch up in the newspapers, see the news later in the day, change your opinion a little bit during the night, say one thing the next day, then read more, go back to the figures, look at what the finance minister has actually worked out, change your opinion once more, and 3 days later, one is really very confused. And that is what I think when Venugopal talked about those lists of questions. It is a tough issue. But my the broad point I would like to make is that personally I think that this budget is a missed opportunity. And that is why I title my presentation as a missed opportunity. Why do I say, or why do I question this exercise? My broad point is that this government is this year placed at a very, very firm footing. For the moment, ignore what is happening in Jharkhand. Okay? That's besides the point. But this government is indeed on a very solid footing. The initial teething problems it had when it presented its budget last year are a thing of the past. There is a fair kind of consensus. The left, and I am speaking in the leftist country, but the left has been very responsive, very reasonable, surprisingly so. So on all accounts, this was a God-given opportunity to the finance minister to give us a really radical budget, a budget that one would have found inspiring enough. I think that this is a okay kind of budget, a budget that should have done much more. Now, what is it that I think it could have done much more on? Are the two issues that I want to talk about, and those are trade and agriculture, which are areas that I work on, and I'll talk a little bit about those as I go along. Okay, just a little background, and I'll quickly tell you what I set the tone for what I want to speak as I go along. What is the budget? The budget is merely an annual financial statement. For those of you who are students here from the school, it is like any annual financial report that you will find that various firms bring out at the end of the year. It is supposed to be a very clear, transparent reporting of what has happened in the finances of the firm or the country last year. That's what the budget ought to be. It should just report what has happened during the last year. But what has happened with the budget, especially in India, is that it has become a policy document. And much of the problem that you will find this year with some people like me who are disappointed with the budget is because of this mindset that we have got into, that the budget is not just a financial statement, but it is also a policy statement. And therefore we look for policy. We try to see what it is doing for the poor, what it is doing for gender issues, what it is doing for the handicapped sector, what it is doing to the backward districts and so on. Which actually, as an annual financial statement, it is not supposed to. But precisely because it has been doing that, especially over the last 15 to 20 years, that we have started expecting a policy statement. And that we don't find. Arguing from one side, from my point that the budget should be an annual financial statement, it's a good thing that it does. But arguing from the other side, that we are looking for the finance minister to announce policies because he seems to be the only minister interested in doing anything right now, we really, in that sense, we are a little disappointed. So therefore, we have a large number of expectations. For example, we were expecting, in the build-up to the budget, we were expecting that this budget will open up foreign direct investment in the retail sector. We were expecting that it will open up foreign investment in the construction sector. We were expecting that it will say something about disinvestments. Issues that are clearly outside the framework of an annual financial statement. But we were looking at this budget for that. It didn't happen. The next thing is that the budget also reflects very often the political economy or the coalition structure of the government, which this budget does extremely well. You can see what each individual partner has had to say in the making of the budget. You can see where the left has left its footprint, where the other UPA constituents have pressed for their own side, their own piece of the cake, and where the larger interests have stood up. So, in this budget, again to take you back a little bit, to help us understand why a lot of this budget has been received very well, has been applauded, and does fit in with what India today stands for. I'll quickly give you the background. What is the important thing about the Indian economy today? Where is India situated? As Venugopal said, is it a poor country or is it a country of the poor? Is it a developing country? Are those GDP figures good enough, etc., etc.? All those questions. What does all that mean? In broad terms, India clearly is a very strong economy today. Why do I say it is a strong economy today? Because you will find that India's GDP growth rate for the last 25 years, for the last 2.5 decades, has been growing at an average of 5.7%. What is remarkable about this 5.7% growth? First point, that it is among the only two countries in the world which has been growing at above 5% consistently for such a long time. The other country, no marks for guessing, is China. But India is clearly the only other country which has been growing consistently for 25 years. What's the second point? The second point is that these 25 years, we have seen 5 different changes in government. We've seen an ultra-right, we've seen a confused middle, we have seen an ultra-left ideology ruling the country at the center, but the growth rate hasn't slipped, which shows that it is not just a strong economy, it's also a mature economy, which is now fairly insulated from its politics. As you've already been told, foreign exchange reserves have been rising, imports and exports have been growing at very, very healthy rates. Inflation, while it has gone up in the early part of this year, was brought back and is being checked clearly. What about various economic indicators? Let me just take you quickly through that. You will find that the GDP growth rate, as I have already told you, has been very, very significant. And the important thing is that it has been steady. FDI inflows, we would have seen a better shaped curve had we not done stupid things like nuclear tests in 1999 and Gujarat kind of issues in 2002. Otherwise, you will find that FDI has been doing pretty alright, despite those major problems. Foreign exchange reserves is what everybody knows by now. The rupee has been fairly consistent. The index of industrial production has been growing. You will find that everybody is talking about very strong growth rates in the manufacturing sector. Agriculture production, which is very vulnerable, which has all kinds of problems because of droughts and floods and rainfalls and so on. Despite all that, the index of agricultural production has been fairly alright, has been doing fairly okay. Food grain production, you know the story. We are fairly self-sufficient in food security issues, which used to be a problem in the early part of that graph, are no longer an issue at all. Trade has been growing, despite the fact that we still are less than 0.8%. We have less than 0.8% of share of world trade. Our trade in itself, as a proportion to the previous years, has been growing pretty healthy, and imports have been growing at a very robust rate, faster than exports, which actually is good for a developing country like India. The fiscal deficit is a problem, but Shubhashish will talk more about it. Tax revenues have been growing. You will find that the interesting point in this graph is that the share of direct taxes in our tax revenue has been increasing rather heavily, and this budget makes the right moves in that direction. Another problem, food subsidy has been going up. This budget doesn't do anything about it. If anything, it suggests that this subsidy figure is going to go up rather significantly. Employment has been a problem. I am speaking in a state which has the largest unemployment in the country. Employment in the organized sector, you will find that rose and reached a peak sometime in 1997, but has been declining steadily after that. Now let me come to this budget. That's the background, really. That's the background, really, that I wanted to set out before I start talking about this budget. So, in a nutshell, what is the background? The background is that it is a strong economy. It's a stable economy. It's a resilient kind of an economy. It's mature. It is insulated from political issues. It is a government that is well ensconced in power. It is a government that is not threatened at all, like what happened in 98 and 99 when we had unstable kind of governments. And therefore, we are looking at this budget with a little more critical eye than we would have otherwise. Alright? Because if everything is going fine, then the opportunity is hot, and therefore we expect the finance ministry to really push for reforms. We've been doing a fairly good job with reforms over the last 15 years. This budget was expected to push that forward. As I said, I'm going to concentrate on two sectors, where both sectors where reforms are extremely critical, and both sectors where growth is is really called for. The first sector is agriculture. The first line here says that 57% of the population is dependent on 21% of the GDP. There is a problem in the figures itself. Actually, the NSSO figures say that it's 65% of the population that is dependent on agriculture. But the finance minister has said, and the economic survey says, at one point in the survey it says that 57% is dependent. In another page it says 65%. So we don't know what is the correct figure. I will go with the 65% figure because that's a lot more robust. But even if we go by this, there is a problem that I would like your attention to be drawn to, and that is that such a huge percentage of our population is dependent on a primary activity like agriculture. Is that good for any country? No. Because you will find that if you compare these figures with anywhere else in the world, you will find that much of the developed world, in fact all the developed world, shows below 7% populations engaged in agriculture. The US and UK are at 2 and 3%. Countries like Australia and New Zealand, which are very, very highly agriculture-based economies, have roughly 7% of their population dependent on agriculture. We have nearly 60%, 65% of our population dependent on agriculture, producing 21 as the survey says and 24% as we all know of our GDP. So there is a heavy over-dependence on agriculture. And this is where most of our poverty-stricken population exists. So it is a very critical sector. What are the problems with this sector? Why am I emphasizing on this sector so much? One, as I said, that it is basically a sector that produces primary. What do we do with our agriculture production? We are among the largest producers of various agricultural commodities in the world. 22% of rice production in the world is on account of India's production. We have a market share of 22% in the rice production in the world, which is a good thing, isn't it? That we are a big rice producing country. So what is the problem with that? That in world trade in rice, our share is just 2%, and we have all the things that go into giving us a comparative advantage in producing rice, and we export, or we have only a 2% share in the world trade. This goes for everything. Fruits and vegetables, we are the largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world. Our exports of fruits and vegetables contribute to less than 0.4% of the world trade in fruits and vegetables. So I was looking for something that would talk about agriculture trade. The only interesting thing that the budget speech said was a hike, mind you, a hike in the customs duty on cut flowers. Right? In this huge sector, only thing that it really that it thought fit to underline was a 60% duty on cut flour. Now you can read whatever you want into it, but I'm just pointing out that this is what is disappointing about what this budget had to say on agriculture. What did it say? It said it gave the correct it spoke the correct terminology. Agriculture diversification. True. The big problem with India's agriculture is that it is over-dependent on food grain production. We encourage through a multitude of very complex and very difficult kind of procedures. We encourage people to continuously produce food grains, and we discourage agricultural diversification. So good. So this budget says that we must encourage people. We must have a roadmap for agricultural diversification, and it uses these 6-7 sectors as examples. Now, one, I don't understand why we have selected only these sectors, and the budget doesn't explain why these sectors. One can understand clearly that these are the big sectors. Dairy clearly is a big sector, fruits and vegetables are big sectors, oilseeds contribute to much of our import bills. So yes, we should do something there, but what? That is not yet known. There is separately a horticulture mission that has been announced, a mission specifically for fruits and vegetables. and that gets 630 crores in the year. We again do not know how this is going to work out. He talks about agriculture marketing infrastructure. Now, this is very important. This is really very critical. Let me tell you why I say this is very critical. Our estimates are that in India, agriculture produce, the agriculture produce as it moves from the producer to the plate, from the farm to your dining table. In this process, there are wastages to the tune of 40% of the produce. In India, because of poor marketing infrastructure, nearly 40% of our produce gets wasted. So therefore, marketing infrastructure is really important. By marketing infrastructure in agriculture, we mean cold storages, better supply chains, and greater emphasis on vertical integration and so on. So that is a healthy thing it has at least talked about. I won't dwell too much into water resources, flood management and erosion control. You know that we have this strange problem through the year where we have droughts and we have floods in the same year. What is even more ironical is that in the same region, and there is very little that has been done on this for a long time. There are whole lots of huge number of issues that need to be taken care of, and again the feeling is that this has been just put in because it is an important issue. The roadmap for it, whether this is going to be taken up, how this is going to be taken up, who will take it up, because you see these are also very difficult constitutional issues. All these issues are basically are issues that are there in the state list. They are not central subjects. How is the government going to cope states into taking these up in a bigger fashion? Micro irrigation. Here I think is a statement that we should all remember and check with the financial statement that will come out next year, because I think that these are very difficult targets to meet. If we are going to increase our irrigated area by 11 million hectares, it is going to involve, it's something we have never been able to do. And if you are going to do it in the next 1 or 2 years, it is going to be a huge exercise. I think each one of us will have to start digging, but it's clearly not going to happen. And this is a huge promise that has been made. I don't know why. Rural credit and indebtedness, farm insurance, microfinance, micro-insurance, big important buzzwords. Again, very little by way of knowing who is going to do it. These will be important things to flag and watch for at the end of this year. How much success have these schemes achieved? I am not being cynical, I am not being pessimistic, but I don't think that these will stand off as great achievements when we look at it in March 2006. Knowledge center in every village. Again, Mr. Govind, when Gopal mentioned, look at it this way. A knowledge center in every village. 6,40,000 odd villages in India. Is this feasible? Will the government be able to do it? Agriculture research, again an important area. But again I have this feeling that because it was an item that something had to be said about, it was given a small sum of 50 crores. I don't know what can be done with that amount of money. In trade, I talked about cut flowers, and that I think explains the picture. What is the issue with trade? I don't know if you all remember, but a few months ago, Kamal Nath announced a new trade policy. The Commerce Ministry announced a new trade policy, which said that India's share in world trade will increase from 0.7% to 1.5% in the next 5 years. Is that an ambitious target to be achieved? I would think no. Given the way our trade is going, I think we will anyway reach 1.5% of world trade for government policy or no government policy. And what I say, I think the finance minister also agrees to. Therefore, he has done very little about it, assuming that it will in any case reach 1.5%, which Kamal Nath wanted. The point here to be that I want to underline is that in trade issues, one, there is no reason why we should hide customs duty. There is it escapes all logic if you are going to increase any tax rate at this point in time. For example, I'm very surprised that the excise duty on steel has gone up. Doesn't make any sense. On one hand, we are all talking about lowering duty. We are all talking about hastening the pace of reforms. We are all talking about reaching duty levels that ASEAN countries ascribe, and we are not doing that fast enough. And all these duties that have come down, you will find that while it has been reduced from 20% to 15%, we are still way off the 6 to 7% mark that we have set as a target, because all the ASEAN countries have already reached there and reached there many years ago. My point is, and this is what I want to leave you with, is that overall, my sense is that this budget, nice, clever, well drafted, says the right things, gives something or the other to everybody, has not done what people like me at least expected it to do. It's very difficult to say what it is that is absolutely wrong with the budget, but also it is very difficult not to ignore the fact that it did not use this opportunity that was given to it on a platter. Over to Shubham. Thank you.
I will now invite Dr. Remembrance to speak. To do a budget talk or not. When he first told me or asked me if I would be willing to come to Kerala, I said yes. And that is because my first visit to Kerala was only last year, and I was here in Kochi that day. And on that day I arrived around afternoon, and the entire day till late into the evening I was inside an hotel working. And therefore I had no clue other than the fact that the first time I landed at Kochi airport, I almost, my knees turned very weak because I could not believe that I was in India, because the security people said, thank you, welcome, which you really start wondering where you are. And in the evening we had a great time. We went out, we took a boat ride, went to an island, and I have no idea where I went, because the people who had organized the conference to which I was attending, so I had no idea, but I fell in love with the place. And then he asked me if I would come, and I obviously said yes. And then what happened is about 3 weeks ago, or about a month ago, I actually came here and had a vacation with my wife. So, coming back here then became very difficult. So we are already planning, that is, I was planning on the phone with my wife for a visit here again in August, because she was very upset, because the first time she didn't mind. She usually doesn't mind where I go. But once we came for this vacation, she was very upset I was coming again. So, but I promise you I'll be back here in August. Hopefully I don't have to speak on the budget, but it's a small price to pay to be here. So thank you, Ravi. Thank you very much. I will start by saying that actually both Amir and Venugopal has put me in a tight spot. But Venugopal is easy to take care of, because not only do we not have an open book exam, I also don't have an open book question, because there are too many questions. I have no clue, which question followed what. So what I will do is I will only touch on those questions I think I can answer, and will explain it by saying that those are the ones I remember, the others I forgot. But more importantly, what I would, I have a slightly different take on the budget than what Amir had. Amir painted a slightly gloomy picture. I'm not going to paint a slightly better picture. In fact, I think it is a good budget. And it is a good budget in many ways, for the same reasons actually that Amir thought that it was a gloomy budget. And that should remind you of Rashomon. So, we are looking at it from different perspectives, the same thing. Let me begin by saying, why do I think so? Why do I think it is a good budget? So first let me get back to the questions that Venugopal had raised. This is the easy part.
That is to say that the thing is that if you ask issue by issue, right, on every single issue, depending on whether you support the issue or oppose the issue, you can have points justifying a change or not justifying a change. So frankly, some of the questions that were put, on some of them my answer is yes, on some of them my answer is no. The important thing to check, however, is that am I being consistent all the way through? Because in economics, it is not important how you tackle an issue. Unfortunately, in India, much of the debate is at that level. We go issue by issue rather than by looking at the entire picture of what is it that we are trying to do. And in that context, the thing that Ahmed did, which was to start with where we are, was a good one. So now I'm going to now talk about where we want to be, which by the way were some of the questions that Venugopal already raised. Right? He was also trying to ask whether it was the right way to go to some place. Right? So what is it that we are looking for? And in the process, you will obviously see a bias in my thinking as to where I think India should be. Yes? But the important issue is to check whether I'm doing it consistently. One is to disagree entirely with where I think India should be. The other is to see, even if that were true, even if you support that yes, that is where India should be, am I trying to be there in a consistent fashion? Am I doing something that will help me get there, or am I doing something that will not help me get there? And it is in this context Kerala would want to integrate with the rest of the country. And of course, as an economist, the important issue is, can we maintain this growth? And in that context, I think the budget, for some strange reason, as I said, since we like to follow issues rather than the bigger picture, and to see whether these issues are consistent with each other, or our reading on these issues are consistent or not. See, we have always felt that whenever we try to develop, we have to give up growth. That has become the argument between the right and the left. It is as if the right believes that with growth, everything else will follow. And the left believes that without development, what is the purpose of growth? But if you look at the body of economic literature, which very few people do, unfortunately, if you look at the body of economic literature, and by this I do not mean the pink dailies. There is no economic literature that is developed in the pink dailies in India, unfortunately. But if you look at the body of economic literature, you will find that there is no growth possible without development, and you cannot have development in poor countries unless you have growth. These are two things that have to be simultaneously undertaken. Growth, or in opening up the economy, globalizing, liberalizing, opens up the economy to new opportunities. But you must have people trained to be able to partake of those opportunities. And that is what development gives you. Development looks at the individual, whereas growth looks at the systems in place. So you have to get the systems in such a way that it matches with what the individuals are wanting. And that is how the economics literature separates between growth, which is a macroeconomic concept, which is something that you measure, right? Which is something that is an indicator of what you're doing. Whereas development is more than an indicator. It is what enables growth to take place. Right? So if you view it in that context, and then not look at specific issues in the budget, but look at in which direction the budget is going, then you'll find that this is not such a bad budget after all. Agriculture I'm going to skip because there's a knowledge centers. Amir has left the room. And in knowledge centers, I'd just like to point out one quick thing. Again, talking about consistency. If I were to take a poll just now and ask how many people like the idea that every single village in India has a knowledge center, I'm sure all of you would say yes, that's a great idea. Now the fact of the matter is 85% of our country is web enabled. 85% of our country, which we probably don't know. And indeed we would love to have a knowledge center in every village. The reason why the 15% that are not as yet connected is hilly regions, remote regions, etc. So we would like to see it. Now, is it possible for the budget to do it? The answer is no, because the budget is a one-year policy. To get a knowledge center in 6.5 lakh villages, you would need many years. But if you don't start it now, it will always be many years. And so it is not a good idea to ridicule the fact that where will the money come? The finance minister is saying that we must have a knowledge center in every village. We have to start. Maybe the first year we'll have 10. It costs 50,000 rupees. It costs 50,000 rupees to open up a so-called knowledge center. And this includes the cost of running that center. And this 50,000 rupees annually pays back around 65,000 rupees. In other words, you get back, roughly a 20% return in 1 year. These are all calculations that have been done without the government and have been initiated without the government. Why? Because since the money can be, you can get a return on this money that you invest, 50,000 rupees, therefore it is a commercial venture. And many NGOs have already done this. What the government can do is give that fillip. That 85% connectivity that I was talking about, there is a problem with the last mile. Okay, so we need some wireless connectivity. There the government can facilitate. That's how we must look at this in a commitment that there should be a knowledge center in every village. Not whether it will be there by the time we have 31st March 2006. That's not the way to look at it. But is it an idea that is good? Is it an idea that is workable? How much is the government resource that we need? How much can it be done privately? And the answer to all these questions is, it's a great opportunity, let's go ahead, let's try to get it done. Because it can be done, it's entirely feasible. So since Amir has talked on agriculture, let me spend a little bit of time on manufacturing. On manufacturing, there are two sectors on which there has been special emphasis. Mind you, this is an economist reading, so I'm not going through the entire list of sectors that he has touched upon. But I'm going to touch upon these two sectors because there is an economic significance to these two sectors. The industry could have grown. Many of those policies have been sort of unraveled. And at the same time, we are entering a world situation where we don't have quotas anymore. Right? So in that context, the focus on the textile sector was a good thing, and some of the good things, other than what the statements he made, which we have to wait and see, but the important things that he did touch upon is that capital goods in textile sector, those prices have come down. So that's a very good thing. Sugar is a bad thing, and this we can discuss later during the question answer session. I'm totally against supporting industries which are sick. You don't want to close them down, don't close them down, but at least get rid of the management. Giving them more money at subsidized rates is to me an unacceptable solution to sick industries. There was a lot of positive talk on SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and I would like to connect now a little bit with agriculture over here, because again, if we look at what India's problem is, right? India's problem is that in agriculture, we have a large group of small and marginal farmers who are always at the borderline of subsistence or complete disaster. And we have a large body of landless laborers who are not very skilled in doing anything other than agriculture. But because a large chunk of agriculture is happening in small and marginal farms, small and marginal farms do not, in general, hire a lot of labor. Right? Therefore, the possibilities, the opportunities that landless labor has on agriculture is very, very limited. Our industrialization is one of the weakest or slowest in entire Asia. Right? So in that context, if we are trying to think of where the Indian problem lies,